there was a sister that had wrote me an email, and she was talking about when I said that my only regret was my great grandmother not living long enough to see how much I've developed as a human being. And she asked me, what was it that went down in particular your life that made this come out of you? Well, there was a day of where I was in my bedroom. And um, another thing about me is when I was young, I didn't have anyone to help me understand what an introvert was. And so you're dealing with a child who who had anger issues, and you also had a child who was an introvert and didn't know that he was introvert, that he didn't like being bothered. So there was one particular morning, my mother just came in and just interrupted whatever I had going on, which is something that she used to do a whole lot. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. I couldn't stand my mother when I was coming. I just didn't like her. You know, she was always keeping chaos going on. But one particular morning, my great grandmother had to go to the doctor, and she had to go into a specific area over in a black and Puerto Rican neighborhood that was right next to this high school that was called CBS. CBS was a high school that was almost 2 blocks long. However, over there, there was predominantly the black community and a Puerto Rican community, and it was a community of this gang called the El Rookets, and there was another gang called the Vice Lords. So there was always some gang violence going on. And simply because I was a martial artist and a boxer, um, my mother asked me to go over there with my great grandmother that she would be able to go to the doctor, check on her health. So that made me very angry because, as I said before, I had anger issues, and I was an introvert, and the majority of the times I didn't like being bothered by people because this was after the effects of everything that I was talking about in the previous video. So what I noticed with my great grandmother is that she knew that I wasn't just angry, I was enraged. I mean, it wasn't physical, but she knew that I was I was angry, I was enraged. And it hurt her feelings, even though she didn't say that in her feelings. I could look at my great grandmother and tell that she felt like, don't he understand I need him here with me for my protection? And they had confidence in my protection over my great grandmother because of the environment. The environment was so so violent. But even then, I couldn't, due to the fact that I knew that I was sent to be her protector, I couldn't humble the rage inside of me because I just didn't want to bother. I was a kid who had anger issues, and I was an introvert up on top of that, and didn't know what an introvert was. I didn't know what being an introvert was. I didn't have any understanding on different levels of anger or rage or anything. I was totally ignorant of these things, and all of this inner turmoil was going on inside of me. However, it was being used in order to protect my great grandmother, and I had no knowledge. So as I got older, and I learned what meditation was. I meditated on that particular day, and it helped me understand it exactly the conflict that was going on inside, and so this is why I had said that my biggest regret was um, her not living to see how much of a better human being that I have developed into being because of my learning of myself and my effort to learn um, not only about anger, but what anger is, and finding out what I was coming up in terms of being an introvert, because I could never understand how come I don't. There are times I absolutely just don't want to be bothered by no one. Now, a whole lot of people would say, well, it's probably because you're an Aquarius and your sign, But to me, if I can perceive that there's something that is wrong about um, certain aspects of my personality, if I'm unable to change those aspects of my personality, I could at least try to understand it, and through understanding, I'm able to govern those aspects of my personality uh, a lot more effectively. You can only govern what you come to understand. That's what the last statement of my video was implying. Whatever's going on inside of us as human beings will consume us if we don't obtain some understanding of not only who we are, but mostly what we are and what we have been created of, which is the nature of the dual components of the Creator Himself. I put those two videos before. I used the one from Legend a couple of times when he was saying that you can never defeat me. We are brothers eternal. See, even though they manifested that as a character for a movie, that is the demonic nature of every human being. And when he said, or when it said, you can never defeat me, it's telling you I will always be present. But the lie is, you can actually defeat it if you grow to understand its nature. But you can't deny it. You have to accept it, that this is the way that I was made by the divine creator. Because the divine creator also holds the essence of that same demonic force, because the creator created the evil of which lives inside of us. Now, a lot of people may say, oh no, God is good all the time. So you're saying that God was good during the creation of evil, when evil is considered not good, even though there is a dual component even to evil, which is called a necessary and evil, that is necessary for the sake of good. This is when God passes its judgment on a people or a situation that refuses to change for the better, to where people will look at the actions, the function, and the results of which God's judgment, and they say, wow, that's cruel, that's evil. But it was an evil that was executed for the necessity to establish a goodness. So there's something called a evil that is necessary, which is a necessary evil. It is evil that is necessary. And the reason why it said we are brothers eternal is because due to the fact that evil exists because of good, then those two are related to one another. They're brothers, like he said. We are brothers eternal. So you will never defeat me. I'm going to always be present inside of you. And this is the reason why we as human beings are always battling within ourselves. As I always say, there is no mythical, tangible being that is floating around outside of yourself that is causing all of your conflict. You know, this mystical character that the church and the religion of the world call the devil, or like the Islamic people say, Shaitan, which is another way of the Christians saying Satan. You are not, as a human being, divorced from that. That is of our nature, because the nature of the Creator is good and evil. This is why the Creator had said, I create war and I create peace. I create good and I created evil. I, the Lord, created all of these things. Everything that is created as an extension from the very essence and nature of the Creator. And the Creator is telling you, God is telling all of us, the evil that you see in the world, the evil that you feel inside, the evil that is going on inside of you, I created that. But the whole thing is, you have to grow to understand it in order for you to be able to govern it. And once you go inside, allow yourself to be led inside, face yourself, and you see it and you accept it as a part of you, and you grow to understand it, then you make the conscious decision on how you are going to utilize it for your particular destiny. There are a lot of human beings on the planet that utilize their demonic side for demonic purposes. There are some people, as myself, who would rather allow the Creator to utilize our thoughts, actions pertaining to our demonic side for only purposes that are divine. Now, what the video was talking about was that I was a child and I had anger issues because I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand anger itself because I didn't have a father who cared enough to come around to help me understand what was going on inside of me. I was also an introvert, so I wasn't just, as most would say, non-sociable. I enjoyed my own company so much that I wanted to be off to myself. But when you are living in a chaotic environment, having anger issues and being an introvert at the same time, a lot of people perceive you as being non-social. That's how my mother perceived me to be, non-social. So what she would do, she would try to violate that instead of asking me, why are you like this? My mother never questioned me. She just condemned me as an evil person. She used to tell me all the time, you're just evil. You are evil. I had the type of mother, even when I was a small child, and I was surrounded by different characters from comic books. You know, I had a huge comic book collection, Captain America, all of these characters. When it came to Halloween costumes, my mother would never ask me who I wanted to be. She would just go out and give me a devil costume. She said, here, put this on. Because this is how my mother saw me. My mother perceived me as an evil child. An evil child that was not gangbanging, wasn't smoking, wasn't drinking, wasn't doing drugs, but I was evil. And I was pretty much the only person within the home that wasn't doing evil. I just wanted to be left alone because I was an introvert and didn't know what an introvert was. So I was in conflict of not understanding how come I don't want to be bothered. However, when you are a child growing up in a chaotic environment and you are in total opposition characteristically of being a chaotic person, you remove yourself from that chaotic environment because you don't relate to that. That's not how you want to live, because that's not and what you are inward. So you separated yourself from your family, and that was perceived as being non-social and evil. So you have a mother who quickly condemns you instead of trying to figure out not only who her son is, but what he is. So as time goes on, you get out on your own. You get away from the hostile environment. You go through a whole lot of different relationships. You find yourself being abused in a whole lot of areas. However, as you mature and you become enlightened, you come to understand that that abuse was a necessity for you to come to learn the aspects of not only life itself, but you as a human being. So you come to understand that the life journey is full of a lot of areas to where you are going to have to suffer in order to learn certain areas of living and yourself, simply because you didn't have anyone in terms of parenting to prepare you for these things. And so you go through your life experience being forced into the position to have to learn things strictly on your own. And for a little while, you go through life and you have this anger towards your parents because you feel as though they didn't prepare you. I wasn't prepared for relationships. I wasn't prepared for anything. Anything and everything, I had to find out for myself. However, you also had abusive parents. So you come to understand why the Creator put them in the position to where not only were they interested in telling you anything, they wasn't able to tell you anything because you personally were turned off by your parents because of who they were and what they were. So your whole life was designed for you to be only educated by one divine force, and that was God. God. So once you come to understand that, you grow to govern yourself in a certain manner to the point where you become psychologically, spiritually, and intellectually productive. And so it's not an easy journey, and it's a hard journey, but a wise person and a mature person would have it any other way. Because anything easy is not worth having. So as you move forward in life, you come to understand what an introvert is. You understand anger itself. And you come to understand that once you understand these certain entities like anger, happiness, joy, being an introvert, once you understand what those things mean, then you are able to govern those entities because you understand the nature of them and the function of them and the psychological and emotional effects of these certain activating entities that are strictly and only from the Creator. So know thyself is very important. And so as you grow in understanding, you grow because the root of that growth is wisdom. And so it says, in all thy getting wisdom, in all thy getting, get an understanding. So as you get an understanding of wisdom, and during the journey of your growth, it is very important to understand humility. And the key of humility is to be maintained in humility, that one may not destroy himself. So humility is key. So a lot of people say, stay humble. Stay humble. However, the remaining of being humble is humility, which is a movement that derives from being humble. So you walk the earth in humility. And through all of those gifts from the Creator, those things are most beneficial. Now, the second footage that I used was from The Lord of the Rings. And it was that scene when Gandalf, the character Gandalf, was pulled down into the depths of hell by this demon. I had shared with a brother of mine, when I first saw that, I told him, I saw myself as Gandalf, and I saw myself also as that demonic force that was trying to lead him, pull him into hell. And I saw Gandalf was fighting that demon, and therefore I saw the battle within myself. So you go you fight all the way down to the very depths of your particular hell. You have to fight. And as you're fighting, you're in the state of understanding and everything. And you're fighting against that demonic force within yourself instead of giving into it simply because you owned up to it. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to give into it simply because this is a part of your nature. You don't have to give into it. It's just a part of the way that you were created. And this is one of the reasons why it is so, death of the self is so important. This is the reason why Yeshua had told Brother Nicodemus, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. You have to be born again in the spirit of God. And so we're not talking about anything tangible. This tangible organism in which accumulates all of this information, which is demonic. You have to, at some point in your life, die to it. But the only way that you are going to be able to die to it, you have to go against it. You have to battle. You have to fight. You have to own up to everything that you've accumulated that has made you and what you are. You have to own up to it, and you have to fight it all the way down to the depths of your inner hell. And as the movie demonstrated, next, Gandalf had defeated that demon, and he called himself Gandalf the White, and therefore Gandalf became pure. And so the whole battle of the self is an act of self-purification. The reason why it's called self-purification is because you have made a conscious choice to go against your demonic nature and to side with your divine nature, that you may be purified and therefore born again into the spirit. This is what Yeshua was talking about. So the whole journey, the whole fighting journey that was illustrated in the movie was a form of Gandalf dying to his current self, which was demonic, and he was fighting against it. And then the next Lord of the Rings had presented him as being victorious in the battle against his demonic self. And so even though that nature still exists in us, you have to be born again to the degree to where it won't rule you in a demonic sense ever again. But you're now put in the position to where the Creator can look upon you and say, this is my son or daughter with whom I am well pleased. Now, even though you still have that demonic nature sitting inside of you, due to the fact that you were born again in the spirit, that demonic nature can only be utilized as a necessary evil for the sake of doing only that which is good. So with all thy getting, get an understanding of oneself, because you can only govern what you come to. Before I go into this video, I first must thank all of the very insightful and great emails that a lot of you sent me in reference to the current video that I have up, which is titled, You Can Only Govern What You Understand. A lot of you expressed understanding the video, and you were writing down some very beautiful and insightful things that I wish you guys would actually start putting in the comment section, or if anyone wants to come up, because this is the Zoom app, and if any of you ever want to come up and try to collaborate with me so that we both or a group of us can probe into these deeply spiritual and in-depth subjects, I'm totally open to that. Because what I've noticed since I've been on YouTube is it's almost like, and it seems like it's the same when it comes to me on Facebook. Whenever I put a lot of my writings down, it's almost like people are afraid to comment, to make comments or analyze things with me. It's almost like people are a bit intimidated by me, and they really don't have to be intimidated by me, because even when I was going up to UNLV, which is getting ready to start another month from now, when I was talking to a whole lot of different professors and scholars in different areas of religion and science and psychology and social science and political science, I was primarily up there interested in going in along with those people in order to try to understand exactly how to cope with this living experience. And if there's one thing I'm always interested in, is how other human beings see certain things. I think that if we understand the importance of communicating with one another, not only just on a surface area, but a more in-depth area. And we've been put in a position, and it's our fault, that a whole lot of us don't feel comfortable opening up and telling everybody how we think and how we feel about certain things. And that fear that a whole lot of us are keeping inside is not the individual's fault. It's our fault as a human family, because a whole lot of us will only take a whole lot of personal information from people and either mock them about it or discard them altogether as a human being, with an attitude as though their hurts and their pains and their concerns don't matter, when every single one of us is relevant, because we're all on this planet, and that's what makes us relevant. If the Creator saw fit to give us life, that is the greatest gift of relevancy that you could ever imagine, because none of us have to be here. But due to the fact that all of us are here, when we look at one another, we should understand how very important each and every one of us are. And that's the whole point. But I wanted to thank you for all of the great emails out of all of the videos that I've ever made on this YouTube. That particular one, I got a lot of responses back, and I was reading some very beautiful and insightful emails, and I'm like, wow, and it made me feel good, because at a time I was thinking of either shutting my YouTube channel down or start uploading more of my writings, or whatever the case may be, because there's some times to where you get a little frustrated when you don't see the response, and you don't, me personally, the response is not rooted in me trying to get somewhere financially. That's not what I'm interested in, because I'm already set for life in that particular area. My my whole concern about making videos is, as I always say, to try our hardest to make humanity a better place to live. And so, simply because I've been through so much in my life, and I've been through a lot of things that are extremely sensitive and personal, and I've survived them without being succumbed by any type of self-destructive vices like drinking, drugs, gang violence, smoking, or anything that at some point in time will compromise the health of my organism. You know, I've always, in spite of the pain and the humiliation, I have always stayed on that straight and narrow. I've always stayed on that straight and narrow. That's why I'm 62 years old and I still don't have a police record. Because I've always held myself responsible for me. You know, I've always tell people, including my sons, that there is no magical or mythical manifestation called the devil telling you to do anything. As I always mention, when the Creator says, I created peace and I created war, and I created good and I created evil, I, the Lord, created all of those things. And due to the fact that each and every one of us of the human family are a creation and therefore an extension of that which created good and evil, peace and war, that means that we have those attributes living and activating inside of all of us. And the moment that a whole lot of us just accept it, you don't have to embrace it. A lot of people say, what's the distinction? Embracing it leaves a choice. But the way we were created with those functioning attributes in us, there is no choice, because this is the way that we were created, and therefore it is part of our natural makeup as human beings. We are dual human beings, and there's no way around that. That's just like the demonic figure has said in legend. What is light without dark? I am a part of you all. You can never defeat me. We are brothers, eternal. So we're related, eternal. Good and bad are related, because good gives purpose and identity to bad, and bad gives purpose, identity to good. So there wouldn't be a good if there's not a bad, and there wouldn't be a bad if it wasn't a good. And these two are sitting up inside of all of us. Now, the common Christian will say, not me, because I'm saved. And these are the people who don't understand exactly how they were saved. They were saved by time, a grace period. Because when Yeshua, I'm going to say this again, was up on the cross, and by him being one with the Father, he was able to feel how God felt. And so due to the fact that he was able to have insight in terms of how the Creator felt about what was transpiring, he said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Now, if he had to suddenly ask God to forgive us, before he spoke those words, how was the Creator thinking and feeling for us? Why did Yeshua have to ask the Creator for forgiveness? Now, if Yeshua had to ask for forgiveness, it meant that currently of God, there was no forgiveness inside of God for humanity. And so due to the fact he loved his son so much, and he understood that Yeshua understood the human journey a whole lot more sufficient than the Spirit of God, because Yeshua was a human being. He understood human frailty. And so due to the fact that he understood human frailty, he communicated with God and said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Now, if God is supposed to be the all-knowing and the all-wise, and yet God was angry and was getting ready to wipe humanity out, a lot of people say, "Well, what do you mean by that?" If they knew not what they were doing, don't you think God would have known that? Because currently God didn't know that. The all-knowing and the all-wise didn't know that. It's right there. And this is the reason why Yeshua had to point this out to the Creator. A human being had to point this out to the Spirit of God, because that human being understood human frailty. He understood human frailty. And so when the Creator became in agreement with Yeshua, who was his son, who was a human being, he said, okay. And so God gave us a grace period. So we were saved by the grace of God. Grace implies time. You're giving time to get yourself together. And if you choose to go against getting yourself together, what is written in the book of Revelations is definitely what's going to happen to you. And if you make the mistake and look at that as simple prophecy without you having any power to not allow that to happen, then yes, you're going to be in trouble. And what is meant by that is that if the Creator has revealed through the scriptures a precondition to the human family, if they do not change and turn from their wicked ways, then this is going to happen to you. What goes down in the book of Revelation, this is what's going to go down. All of these things are going to happen to you. Excuse me. But had to edit that out. But those type of things are what's going to transpire. Now, due to the fact that the Creator gave us a knowledge of a precondition that's going to transpire, this is going to transpire. What you see here in the book of Revelations, this is what's going to transpire if you don't turn from your wicked ways. So, as Yeshua would tell us, go and sin no more. Stop what you're doing. Stop your own self-destruction. So the precondition of what's going on in the book of Revelations is also a precondition for you to stop what you're doing in terms of your own self-destruction, because if you don't, this is going to transpire. This is going to transpire. So if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven. What do you mean then? Because the Creator will read into that after you turn from your wicked ways, and the Creator will perceive that you are 100% honest. Then I will hear you, forgive your sins, and heal the land. It's really simple. It's really simple. So what is that saying? It's saying that the human being, the human family, have the power to prevent what is written in prophecy to transpire. The only thing we have to do is turn from our wicked ways, or in the street sense, stop tripping. Okay, I'm back. I have to turn on my air conditioner and let the place get cooler. Get cooler, because you know I've been living out here since 1987, and I'm from Chicago, and so in spite of how long I've been living out here, actually I've been living in Las Vegas longer than I was living when I was coming up in Chicago, because I left Chicago at the age of 21. in 1985. So I'm 62 years old right now, and it's 2026. And so this is the reason why a whole lot of people in whom I come up with, they feel kind of sideways when I tell them that Chicago is just where I was born and raised, but Las Vegas is my home because I've been here. Not only because I've been here for so long, it's because this is the birthplace of my two sons. And when it comes to my sons, I'm not even going to talk about it. But going back to the whole thing of the grace period that I was talking about, it's just, see, what's important about time is that time is sacred, and therefore none of us knows how much time we have left, because time is sacred. We don't know how much time we have left individually, nor for this earth. We don't know. This is the reason why it says in the word that God will come as a thief in the night. Unpredictable. No signs of when something is going to transpire. It's just going to happen randomly, suddenly. Behold, And so when you understand that time is indeed a sacred gift, and it has been given to you with the intent of giving you enough time to make matters right within yourself, then this is the reason why it is called a grace period. It's God's grace on the human family in order for the human family to get themselves together morally, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, on every single level. And due to the fact that the human family is not given a given time of when this is going to transpire, if we were given a given time that it would be that it would come, we would just be a bunch of hypocrites, because we would say, oh well, shoot, we got 3 more months, so I'm gonna get myself right in the last 5 days. No. The sacredness of time is actually beneficial, because due to the fact that you don't know how long you're going to be here individually, or how long this earth is going to be functioning by God's grace, it puts you in the position to where it transmits the importance of the human being to get themselves right now, so that when that time comes, you will be of the honest group of people who will be welcomed by God, and not the group of people who felt as though, well, yeah, I got a whole lot of time left. No, you absolutely have no time to be foolish. This is the reason why Yeshua has said, go and sin no more. End it right now. End it right now. He didn't say go and sin no more next week. He didn't say stop it next week. He didn't say, well, you still young. Like the elders tell they, kids, you still young, go on out there and have fun. And in the midst of them having fun, you see what's going on right now. You see how these teens get together and they just tearing everything up. They taking over cities. Gone. You got plenty of time. Be young, have fun. That's very dangerous and irresponsible information. Very dangerous. It goes all the way back to the sacredness of time, and therefore the importance of the present, of getting yourself right with the Creator, that if things all of a sudden stop, you will already be in the midst of becoming better, instead of, God done came back, so now I better get myself right. I mean, I've seen people who live their entire lives in chaos, complete chaos. And all of a sudden, they get sick, they have a heart attack or whatever the case may be, they have a stroke, and then they go get analyzed at the doctor, and the doctor tells them, you only got 3 to 6 months to live. All of a sudden, they become so holy. It makes you wonder, well, wow, is heaven full of hypocrites? Because if heaven is full of hypocrites, I don't want to go there. And then it goes back to where it says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. On earth as it is in heaven. Well, if this is where all of these suddenly changed people are going of heaven, I'd rather stay here on earth and live out my heavenly plane here on earth. It's like the school teacher had told Dr. Henry Clark when he was in school, that she said, I would rather go to hell for being right than to march into heaven amidst a whole bunch of fools. But as this moved forward, I just wanted to thank everyone for that, and it makes me feel good that people are starting to understand, even though the lights are not getting better, and I'm not trying to hint anything, but it doesn't surprise me because of the things that I talk about are not very loud. I'm not on here beating up on black women and talking about what's her name, who ain't a real doctor. I could care less if that woman is not a real doctor or not. If she's a liar, that's her business. If she can live with herself lying, that's on her. That has nothing to do with me, because no matter how much y'all come down on this woman about her lying about her degrees, she's going to do whatever she wants to do. And I think that she's shown that already. So why stress yourself? Talk about something that's relevant, and instead of talking about a woman who was irrelevant, who is nothing but a compulsive liar. Come on, wake up. There are a whole lot more responsible and more vital things to address. But as the video said, you have to get to know both parts of yourself. Both parts of yourself. And you have to understand both parts so that you will be able to understand each one, their nature and how they function. And that's the only way that you will be able to govern it. And I would suggest studying real closely your dark side, because your dark side is far more of an endangerment to your soul than your good side. Because if your dark side is normally activated pretty much every day, I think due to the fact that it's activated the majority of the time, that's the one that you need to be observing and studying most of the time. Because if you don't observe it and you allowed it and you allow it to swell, then it's going to get to a point to where anything could happen at any given time, because you didn't take the time to understand exactly how you were being affected by negating and neglecting and denying your dark side, because your dark side is present. It's there. And it was created there by God. So don't think that God is always against darkness, because it comes from God. God is the one that implanted that in us. God implanted it in us that we may be able to understand how to govern it. You have to govern it. And those who have failed to govern their dark side are the ones who are sitting in jails and prisons this day, and also those who created their untimely deaths, like my mother when she did her drug overdose thing and killed herself, which is an untimely death. And an untimely death is when the human being takes their lives into their own hands and they destroy themselves instead of continuously living until it's time for the Creator to liberate them from their organism. Those are the people who get caught up in the dark side of themselves, and they didn't take the time to observe and study themselves that they may be able to govern their dark side to the degree to where the dark side is not as much of a threat to the light, and that way the light, your good side and your potentially your bad side becomes a potential bad side instead of a bad side. It could become a potentially bad side because you understand its limitations. You understand its potentials. And therefore, due to the fact that you understand its potentials, you know not to allow that dark side to get out of control. And therefore, you understand it enough to govern it that you may not be a subject of self-destruction. And with that being said, as I said before, I appreciate all of the great emails. And as I said before, if any of you want to collaborate, and if you don't mind getting the Zoom app, if you would like to collaborate with me in a discussion, and we can talk about whatever you want. It really doesn't matter because I'm interested in everybody's point of view. I'm interested in how this life journey has affected all of us because we all can learn something from one another. We all can learn something from one another, and that's the beauty of the human family, is that we're on this earth to learn of one another. And that way we can help heal each other, and we can help guide one another, and we can help each other govern ourselves. And with that being said, everyone have a beautiful night, and please stay human.